Are Prince Harry and Meghan Markle ever going to get out of this endless cycle of humiliation that they are currently on right now? Hello everyone. Welcome to our own news network. Today we are talking about just all these stories that have come out over these last several weeks, from Harry's V-card story to South Park to I feel like so many different things that just demonstrate that despite what Harry and Meghan are telling the world and everything, they've been subject to a lot of humiliation, and I don't think that's going to abate anytime soon. Not only that, I feel like their public reputation, their public perception just continues to take after hit. Yeah, apparently sometimes Meghan Markle's PRPS, particularly there is an article in The Telegraph, and The Telegraph is one of the few British papers that Harry and Meghan still talk to, apparently is saying that no, Meghan is still making wheeling and dealing, and she's going to make these huge deals and her inherited come out on top, swimming in money. Well, I really don't think that's going to be the case. So I'm going to share with you guys a little bit of why I think that. But if you haven't been here to roll this network before, like I said, my name is Brittany, and on this channel I provide compelling royal commentary about the latest news and a little bit of gossip as well. In addition, I will be reviewing television shows and movies and sharing a bit about history too. So if you love royals and talking about royals and analyzing what's going on all over in royal land, feel free to subscribe. I would love to have you back. In addition, I have a couple links down below to a trip I'm having with a group to London and the Cotswolds later in May. Then I also have a weekly newsletter, Royal Wire. And I finally also have a fashion channel that's on a bit of a hiatus, but should be back soon. And so if you guys are interested in any of those things, feel free to check out those links down below. And I should say, well, I'm closing in on 100,000 subscribers. So if you've been floating around this channel for quite a bit and haven't subscribed yet, again, I would love for you to go ahead and do so, because I'm really anxious to hit that mark, because I'm just so excited. And before we go on to Harry and Meghan, we do want to give a big shout out to Catherine and William, who are at the BAFTAs last night. I have to say, between the two though, I'm going to give Mad Professor William. He looked so fine last night. I love his 007 inspired look with the velvet double-breasted blazer, which is something I feel like we haven't really seen him in very much. It was very stylish and very regal. And Catherine, and the gloves and the earrings, I feel like this dress has divided the internet in so many ways. Although she did look beautiful, I will have to say I'm not totally a fan of the gloves, the dresses, and the earrings together. I like them individually, but I don't think really together, because the earrings off really remind me of I guess you could say that Queen Margaret of Denmark has, which is just kind of odd looking. And so those are immediately what it reminds me of. I think would have actually worked with the golden poppy style dress as she wore a couple years ago. I think those earrings would have actually mixed nicely with that dress. But to be honest, guys, I love the dress. I love the dress. I love the first iteration of it, but I'm just not a fan of this total look together. But William looked fine. We also had Princess Leonora of Sweden, her mom, Princess Madeleine, who lives here in Florida. She just posted a picture of her little girl for her 9th birthdays. I just thought that would be fun to share too, because, hey, did you know that Leonora was actually born in New York City? So yes, she is an actual princess born on US. And what's really cool too is that she got her title from her mom, because Sweden has changed up the rules and everything, and some families that doesn't happen. So bravo, I think that's just awesome. But onto the seemingly just endless cycle of humiliation Harry and Meghan are on, and honestly, guys, I think they brought it all on themselves. They really have, and I think their inability to recognize their own faults and mistakes throughout all of this is just continuing to lead them down the path to destruction, self-destruction. As a matter of fact, and so it begins of course this year with Spare Bear did not go probably as well as Harry and Meghan would have liked. Number 1. It leaked early. They weren't expecting that. They didn't really want that because they wanted Harry's interviews to be able to lead the public to this perception of Harry because he so wants to be seen as this war hero and this victim and this just sad, pathetic boy that needs just all of our love and attention. And I think go like that. And of course, also when Seth leaks, they go with the things that are going to generate the most headlines. So the frostbitten pin is the number of people he killed in Afghanistan, the fight with William, where he looks really pathetic, etc., etc., etc. So that's what everybody focused on. Of course, Harry and Meghan are not about that, but guys, just let you know when you put down things in your book that make it back to bite you in the butt. They have nobody to blame but themselves there, and apparently we got a lot of reports that Meghan is distancing herself from Harry. Perhaps aware of the humiliation they may face together for this book, but I think honestly, some of it as well is that she is trying to quote-unquote brand, and we'll go into this a bit later, but I don't think this will be as effective because as I've come through the reality TV show and then the memoir, they are less popular than ever, not to mention the fact Meghan is still less popular than Harry. Yes, despite everything Harry has done and besides and except for Meghan, science, she is still less popular than her husband. So that's not going super well for them, and he was subjected. He was mocked on Jimmy Kimmel. Jimmy Kimmel had the book The Prince and the Toddler, or The Prince and the Penis, or something like that. And so go ahead and take a listen to a little bit of a clip here because I don't know about this. It's a twist on The Princess and the Pea. It's called The Prince and the Penis, and I don't know if the kids are still loved. This would be a good time to gather them around the TV because I have the honor of sharing a first read of the new book, and well, here we go. Said to his mummy, "You rescued the snake that lives under my..." Then he tucked it back in and back to her cloud. His mother went soaring and said this aloud, "Should ever you have icy chills on your heart and just give it a rub with Elizabeth Art." Alright, I don't think years ago that this would have happened except for the fact that Harry was dumb enough to put dumb things in his book. When you talk about your dead mother and touching your private areas, people are gonna make the connection and think that's a little odd and make that a source of mockery. And Harriet, Meghan, because they've started down this path, this thing is just going to be balloon and balloon and balloon and balloon. They can't contain it anymore because the more you tell the public and the more you think you're so great and you think that everybody is going to interpret everything you say the way you want them to interpret it. That's always a problem because you have to think in multiple different perspectives. The idea Harry thought that including the number of people he allegedly killed in his book in Afghanistan would help soldiers not commit suicide, not realizing that actually the Taliban is upset with him now and has actually issued some sort of decree and they want to target Harry perhaps and British soldiers. So is Harry's book really helping save people or help or putting people in harm's way? It's an interesting question. And when they hear you, Meghan, I don't feel like they understand why everything has gone so exceedingly wrong for them, because I feel like every turn they do just goes really south. And then we had the announcement or the reveal of who the woman was who took Harry's virginity in a field in the back of a pub. Of course, once again, Harry shared the story with us. Harry shared this story with us. We would have never known if Harry didn't put it in there because Harry shared this story. What is what the media was curious, who is this woman and when she know it, the woman who was attached to the story, hey. She saw that Harry made $20 million, she wants her piece of the pie too, so she reveals herself now. I don't know, maybe the media would have figured it out, maybe not, but that she had to go ahead and share who she is something that Harry, I'm sure, was not entirely anticipating, and something Harry should have thought through because he thought, oh, this is just a short mention. She won't care. She won't care. Well, it turns out she does, and she wanted to clarify some things and share where X marks the spot in the field. Oh yes. Oh yes. She shared that. Not only did she share that, she shared that they had this one encounter. Harry completely ghosted her after this. They had become pretty friendly over the course of about a year or two because she worked in stables near Highgrove, and so all these sorts of things. There wasn't even any protection used. There wasn't any, concerns that maybe she might be pregnant or what would happen or anything like that. And so you just kind of got to sit there and wonder. And she also had to mention that he only lasted about 5 minutes. The whole encounter, it puts Harry in a very bad light, I feel like, and something again he wasn't anticipating, because the way he framed the story, he was wanting us to think it was Elizabeth Hurley or an Elizabeth Hurley type he met with, because he said he called her an older woman. She was 2 years older than him. She was 19 and he was 17 when I was 17. I did not call a 19-year-old an older woman. An older woman to me was placed in her 30s at that age, or maybe even in her 40s, but it's rather offensive for him to call her an older woman. What is Meghan? Is she elderly because she's 3 or 4 years older than him? Was vacant in this scenario. It just doesn't look good. It's like, what were you thinking? And of course the hits didn't stop. They revealed their archival impact report, which, of course, me and others who comment on Harry and Meghan shredding for not showing any financials whatsoever. In addition, they also had a random $10 million donation. Just one that nobody really can figure out, and it went to basically a black hole of donations in the Silicon Valley charitable foundation that runs it's a warehouse. So you tell them, hey, I'm going to give you this amount of money for this charity, but you'll release it when I tell you to, so you get the tax write-off for the donation, but you don't really have to do anything with the donation. And then there's all the questions about whether or not Harry and Nathan will attend the coronation. A couple of years ago, or if Harry and Meghan had left the UK under exceedingly better circumstances, this would not have been a question. It would have been, okay, you guys are going, where are you going to sit, yada yada, but no, Harry and Meghan author heading. They don't know, they got to think about it, and so it's going all these different directions, and none of these 4 stories, I think, again, help Harry and Meghan at all. It's a question. Isn't Meghan not going to go because she may get booed? Is Harry not going to go because he may get booed? Are they not going to go because they'll probably be humiliated by being shoved in the back like they were at the Jubilee, and they really, really hated that? Are they not going because, again, they don't want to face the crowds, they want to face his family? It's Archie's birthday, so of course, that takes precedence over his father's coronation. And even Harry and Meghan supporters were at one point saying they were so mad that the coronation was having on Archie's birthday, and it's like, well, they don't really get to control that. Neither just Charles, to a certain extent. So it was the time that worked best for the government, because of course there are 12,000 other things that are more important than Harry and Meghan's vendetta. And finally we have South Park. I don't think Harry, Meghan appreciated that in the slightest, especially Meghan. She couldn't stand it when Mariah Carey called her diva. She ended her podcast by going, "My butt is sweating. I'm freaking out. Oh my gosh, I was called a diva and I can't imagine how she'll react to being called basically an influencer victim." Empty, shallow. They had a Valley Girl sounding voice to her. They made her sound really quite dumb in a lot of ways, and that very much she was all about this consumerism, making as much money as humanly possible, and it was actually Harry who was redeemed at the end of the episode. That's severe humiliation for Meghan Markle. She is becoming a joke on the international stage, an absolute joke. So what does she do while she kicks back and says, no, I'm still gonna make a button of money, guys. I'm going to make more money than you have ever seen. And I don't think it's probably going to go as well. She thinks she does, but it is an interesting thing what she's trying to do, because in this article in the Telegraph, you can tell like she's desperately trying to go no, everything's fine. It's going to succeed, it's going to go well, everything's good guys. Everything's good. So let me read you a little bit of it. For months now, mystery has surrounded what appears to be the Duchess of Sussex's new Instagram page. Last summer, a new @Meghan handle of year on the social media site accompanied by previously unseen childhood photograph of a mother of two. It came as a 41-year-old dramatically declared in an interview with The Cut magazine last August. "I'm getting back on Instagram," writer Ellison P. Davis noted at the time how Meghan delivered a nothing with such gravitas. She later declared that she no longer was sure she would actually return to Instagram. There's a couple of interesting things to impact their number. One is that Meghan thinks she's a Madonna or Cher level, that she can use just her name and people freak out, but there's a couple of instances where that has not been the case. Number one, apparently she called some sort of shelter in Los Angeles and said that this is Meghan, and the person answered Megan Fox. So there's that, and then apparently there was an exchange. This is part of the Nicole Pelt lawsuit where her wedding cleaners are assuming her. So she's the one who married Brooklyn Beckham. Apparently they ask, is Meghan? "I don't know who that is, I think," was response. And then the question came later, and Harry. So apparently Harry and Meghan did not get a response, and were they searching for one? Did the media put that bug in people's ears? And so they were wondering if you like and were invited Nichols, like, "I don't know who that is." That's a pretty dismissal. So this idea that Meghan thinks she's on a Madonna and Cher is pretty sad. And then you also have this idea of she delivers a nothing with such gravitas, and that's so interesting. Capsulates Meghan Markle. She delivers nothing, but she makes it sound really great, and that she's at such, there's such gravitas behind it. It's very much that word Solomon. You're speaking a lot of words, but there's no real substance behind them, and South Park skewered Meghan on this so well by having Harry at one point in the episode having this realization and trying to get Meghan to see what he's talking about, and then at some point he opens her head and goes, "Hello." So check out this clip here. What matters is what we have on the inside. Hello. And you gotta think as well, the Cut article was also a bit of humiliation for Meghan, because it made her and Harry look so bad, so entitled, so strange. She at one point was apparently trying to make guttural sounds to the author of this article, trying to get her to express Meghan's severe troubles that she's had and everything, and the author's like, "You sound psychotic." She didn't say that, me could just tell that was probably her reaction, going, "What the heck is this woman doing? I really care about this that much." I'm not going to describe your guttural noises, but Meghan again, Meghan's in her vain bubble. So this endless humiliation, although some of it is aimed at hearing beginning, it was, I feel like, the true target at the end of the day is Meghan, and she's not dealing with it very well. The article goes on to say, yet with no one other than a celebrity able to secure a handle on a first name terms, it was assumed that Meghan would be the vehicle through which the social media savvy Duchess relaunched her online persona after Meghan fans began flocking to follow the page. Its profile picture was changed to a pink Delilah, the symbol adopted by members of Harry and Meghan's Sussex squad. Online devotees the emoji, which is not its a picture, as a nod to Meghan's mother, Doria, still referring to her daughter by her childhood nickname Flower, and no posts and just 195 followers later, however, and the Duchess's re-emerges on social media scene appears to have. But why? And if you go on there now, there's about 1,200, 1,300. Maybe by the time this video is up, so obviously there is some interest, but very low when you think about it that this could be. You would have to actually read through the Telegraph and other articles to know that this is apparently a Meghan Markle Instagram. But the question is, what's the point of all this for Meghan? What is she trying to do? What is she trying to accomplish? But she's trying to push back against this deeply negative trajectory that she is on in this endless humiliation, because Harry and Meghan, well, specifically Meghan, is desperate for the world to see her narrative the way she thinks it is, and she's desperate for the world to see this Instagram veneer that she puts over her life, and people aren't buying it, and that's been really tough for her. And so it goes on to say what Meghan does next is a question currently stumping royal watchers as a Sussex recalibrate following the publication of Harry's controversial autobiography. Having been invisible during her husband's publicity campaign, reports emerge of the Duchess possibly having reservations about what her husband wrote in the memoir. And it goes on to say, after Meghan saying that they'll move like salt and pepper, she's been very conspicuously absent, which she has been. It's been a little odd because they are so attached at the hip when they're not, and this has always been the problem. The problem I noted with their excessive PDA is once you stop doing it, everybody wonders what's going on. Is your marriage in trouble? Yada, yada. Yada. Because if you just interact normally, if you don't cling desperately to each other when you don't want to cling desperately to each other, doesn't sound out as much. So that's why it's better to do something like that. Maybe more in private, maybe more around the family rather than doing it constantly in this part of this public production, because once you stop doing it a whole bunch of questions are being asked. But I think to a certain extent, that's what Meghan wants, because despite her humiliation with the South Park thing, she's still desperate for US to see her narrative and to make as much money as humanly possible out of US, the general public. So what is the next stage of the Duchess's own journey? The appointment of a Hollywood venture capitalist who is famed for making millions of dollars for celebrities would appear to hold the clue. Adam Lilling founded Plus Capital in 2012, which says it aims to partner the world's top influencers, those who can affect more change in a day than most can in a lifetime, with the best entrepreneurs and operators in the world. The sessions have been working with Mr. Lilly for some time, having been introduced to him by mutual friend Ellen DeGeneres, a television host who is said to have worked with him forever. So this venture capitalist thing is interesting, and I did a video on this, and maybe I'll still post it. I don't know, but I think the issue Meghan has is she's trying to reinvent herself again after all this humiliation. She's trying to reinvent herself. The huge problem is the reason Madonna and Cher can reimagine themselves over and over and rebrand themselves over and over again is because they had a basis of talent to begin with. Meghan Markle doesn't have that. What does Meghan Markle do? That was something I thought the South Park people cleverly brought up. What does she do? Really, because apparently she didn't do much on her podcast. She didn't do much on their reality TV show, really, because at the end of the day the director did all that, all of her producers on her podcast did all the hard work, really. Meghan just did interview the celebrity talent. Apparently she didn't interview anybody else, and then so when it came to those points, people noticed that and her producer called her out on it. So again, it's just this interesting question that's being raised again and again: who is Meghan Markle, what does she do, and what is the point of getting with this venture capitalist guy? Well, apparently it's to make as much money as humanly possible. So this is what Tom Bauer said, and this is part of the article as well. He told GB News. The question is, how will she make a lot of money in a short period of time in the end, can make sure that she doesn't always need to parade herself as a victim of the royal family? She's always looking for other business opportunities. What's interesting is a people she goes to who is going to maximize Meghan's popularity, who is going to make her really big and very rich. She's very shrewd and clever in that she's always looking for opportunities and for people who can help. He describes Meghan as seeing dollars everywhere she wants to ride in the big catalogs, the private jets on command the moment she needs to scrounge for those sorts of things. She's on the treadmill, which is very fast. She wants to get there faster than tomorrow. The mystery is there. That's the great thing, she's making herself scarce, which puts the next huge exposure, the next theater of opportunity together, whereas this shall then unveil herself once again. The problem is that you're now a laughing stock. You're an international laughing stock. So even if she comes out with something new, can she ever get beyond the parody that South Park made of her? And I'm not so sure, because there is an interesting article in The Spectator that discusses Meghan and Harry's reaction to this, and obviously there are questions flitting around of whether they can sue. I don't really think they have any basis to sue, and if they do, it would end disastrously for them, because every time they sued the story just perpetuates. It just keeps going and going and going because we have Harry's court case. It's now come out that it's costing the British taxpayers $300,000 to defend against Harry's. As the Sun puts it, is this drive stupidity or vanity? Well, it's actually both because we know delusional and paranoid at this point. So yes, it is stupidity and vanity because at this point he lives in his own fairy tale. Fantasyland, and he can't escape that right now and again. It's Harry actually saying that, but if Harry other things again aren't going so well behind the scenes, and Harry Meghan may be fighting behind the scenes too. So the Spectator says Meghan Markle upset at his picture in South Park. Notice, the title is Meghan Markle, not Harry. Harry may have yet to publicly speak about last week's episode of South Park, presumably because they don't have the staff left to formulate a press release. Yes, they've let go of a lot of their staff members because things aren't going well for them, and this avalanche of humiliating things about them just continues to go and go and go, and then getting any better. But California sources claim that Meghan has spent the last few days upset and overwhelmed about how she was portrayed. If you read anything about Harry and Meghan over the last 3 years, you'd think the pair would be delighted with how South parodied them. Their entire episode, titled The Worldwide Privacy Tour, gives them enough fodder to moan for the next few books or Netflix documentaries or Spotify podcasts. They can cry about how she is a victim of misogyny, and Harry can claim that this was all a narrative concocted by the big bad. And I think that's so true. And the thing is that although you could say to a certain extent that being mocked by South Park is a form of flattery, you're big enough to be mocked by South Park, and I think there's an idea of Meghan's mind where she wouldn't totally mind that. I think Meghan is of that she hates the South Park thing and also simultaneously kind of loves it too. Because that means she's quote-unquote made it, but she hasn't made it in a good way. She's made it in more of a reality TV show car crash way, and that is just continuing and continuing. It goes on to say, in fairness, South Park did hold back. Meghan is described as a sorority girl actress, influencer victim by a brand manager during the episode. Later on, Harry has an awakening, realizing that their obsession with branding has made them turn ourselves into products. He claims that there will be no more magazines, Netflix shows. We can just live a normal life. However, when he leaves, Meghan decides to say so. The prince exits alone, which I think, again, is keep that it's Harry who was redeemed in the South Park episode, I think is huge. And she goes on, ironically, after the episode aired, rumors began circulating that Harry and Meghan were so frustrated with the show that they are now taking it out on each other. At least our spatial disagreements are taking place in the 9-bedroom 16-bathroom mansion. No awkward passings in the hall for them. I would not be surprised in the slightest if everything going on, despite Meghan's attempt to deflect in the Telegraph that everything is going on, is causing a lot of tension in their marriage. I've always been on the opinion that the money issues, the stress because they're paying up for security, private jets, cars, everything that puts an enormous pressure on them, in addition to the mortgage for their house, which I think was way over what they should have purchased. And so I think all this pressure is heaving on them, and I don't think, to a certain extent, although Netflix is happy, they want more of the Keeping Up with the Sussexes. They don't want, I don't think, romantic comedies. They can pay other people for that. Why they're paying you and Harry $100 million, Meghan, is that they want you to squeal on the royal family. That's why you've got that $100 million paycheck. They don't really want scripted content from you. And I think that pressure is getting to them, especially the realization that, hey, maybe none of these companies have actually any trust that you can actually produce original content. That would be a bit stressful. And I feel like, as well, Harry and Meghan are always jumping from thing to thing to thing to thing. They never stay on one track. They try to do so much, and yet with so few staff members and so little talent between the two of them, that of course, the tension is really ratcheting up. And then you add on to this the fact that they are international laughing stocks. Everybody laughs at them, Not with them, and that's got to cost a lot of stress in your marriage. Sources claim that Meghan is annoyed by South Park, but refuses to watch it all. But for Meghan, this couldn't have come at a worse time. The Duchess is said to have been obsessed with her half-sister's litigation. Meghan's half-sister Samantha Markle is suing her for defamation following their telephone interview with Oprah Winfrey. The Duchess has previously filed a motion to stop the depositions in the case for taking place, but it was dismissed by Florida Judge Charlene Edwards Honeywell earlier this month. And I did forget to add that as well in this avalanche of humiliation is that Meghan is being sued by her sister over things that she has said, and the case hasn't been thrown out yet. Maybe it will, maybe aspects of it will, but Meghan and Harry may have to sit down and testify under oath about things they've said, and we all know they can keep track of what they've said. So that's going to be a huge issue for them upcoming, and it could actually really put them in a deeply damaging light. What is Samantha wins? What Samantha wins, and once again humiliated, they are, despite their lawyers and everything. That what Meghan has said, her inconsistencies, her inability to stick to one story has resulted in actual litigation as backfired on them. Because which I think they deserve, because they are so interested in litigation that should come back to bite them on the butt at some point. Then there's a coronation. Meghan and Harry are supposedly weighing up whether they will attend or not, but according to sources close to her, the Duchess feels excluded from the whole thing. Play better to leave it then. Aside from all this, the pair have been made aware that nosy journalists have been poking around archival and asking serious questions about what they actually contribute. This comes after the couple released a report, tooting their own horn. I got to say, I was one of those people questioning, okay, where is the money here? You guys are releasing this impact report where pretty much everybody else is doing the heavy lifting and you have no contributions that we can tell. So what the heck is going on? And here you may end again. They're going to be facing this time after time after time, and when it comes to the coronation, when they went to the Jubilee, you can tell that when they went in there and they were told, no, 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 you're sitting on the opposite aisle from your father and your brother. And you are sitting inside the row behind, even though he outranked them in terms of the line of succession. He was very publicly put behind Princesses Beatrice and Eugenie. That had to be a real slap in the face for him and a real wake-up call. Meghan too. Even though Meghan grinned the entire time as if nothing was wrong, because that's always what she does. That's always what she does, is she grins like an idiot because nothing's wrong to her. Well, I think that is wrong. But she wants to mask it, and I was like, well, if you could show me at least that you were frustrated, at least I could tell that was a real emotion from you. And so when they were, very much that was a public dismissal, and I know they're anticipating or worrying about that during the coronation too. Not only that, but they're worrying about being booed, and I think there was a little bit murmuring a boost at the Jubilee. I would imagine that those will be much louder at the coronation, and they will be again publicly very much relegated to the back row. They will be very much not the center of the spotlight as much as humanly possible. The BBC will once again put a giant candle in front of the face of Meghan Markle. That I have no doubt. She and sources claim that the friction between the couple stemmed from the negative reaction after Harry's memoir, Spare. The BBC published a review that called the Duke's memoir the longest angry drunk text ever sent. James the Marriott from the Towns of London called it a 400-page therapy session for Mystic Harry. However much money it provided the couple, it wasn't enough for Meghan, who is said to be embarrassed by the whole thing and seeking support from mentors. Trouble in paradise. And yes, that is a trouble in paradise. This avalanche, a mockery that they're under right now. It's not doing their brand any favors, and like South Park said, Meghan is obsessed with branding and being a commodity. So their brand is taking a hit. Their popularity is taking a hit. They may not get in a good seat at the coronation, and there's questions of whether they'll go their own behavior if they go. But they are also desperate for the capital. That going to the coronation will give them, it'll be a public reminder that yes, we're royals, even though they insist on using their Duke and Duchess of Sussex settle all the time, which everybody like me hates because it's just so dumb because you don't live there anymore. And again, if she could tell me 5 things about Sussex and where it is on a map, I'd be exceedingly surprised, so shocked. Because, again, Meghan doesn't seem to care about anything from the UK or the royal family, except for using it to make money, but I think she's beginning to run out of bandwidth. Nobody cares, nobody's interested, and she's really struggling, I think, to react to this public pressure her and Harry are under, and I wonder too if they're getting pushback from brands or trying to go after where the brands are. No, we're not really all that interested. You just don't have a great public reputation, yada, 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 and I bet you that is really starting to burn and hurt, and I want to be surprised if perhaps at some point there'll be divorce spells in the future, because what has been, I think, exceedingly obvious is that perhaps part of this separation of projects is laying a foundation for the inevitable divorce. And whereas Harry's memoir can be his project, Meghan can have her projects, because we know I don't think Harry knows deadly squat about producing a rom-com any more than Meghan does that it'll all end disastrously. But this public mockery, this humiliation, been kind of fun because it's been nice to see Harry and Meghan take a couple of hits BCAUSE. They really need to check their egos, and I think the public, and it's been very, very good at that. So guys, let me know what you think of this video. Let me know what you think about the